Neha, welcome back to my channel. How are you guys? I hope everyone's feeling at least okayish at their homes in the middle of this whole thing. And since we are in the middle of this whole big thing, this complete lockdown where we cannot get out of our houses for so many days now, and I know that at this point everyone's getting kind of restless and they're just like, oh my god, I just want to run outside. But we cannot do that. But we can watch movies that can take us different places. So yeah, that's why today I'm going to be talking about 28 movies that are either travel movies, road trip movies, or movies that are placed in different locations around the world, so that we can satisfy the hashtag wanderlust in us right now. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. And I'm going to be doing this video in different parts. So the first part is English movies that are in different locations around the world, and the second part is Hindi Bollywood movies that are travel movies, and then the next part is Hindi movies that are not necessarily travel movies but they are in different locations around the world, and the last part is movies that I've not actually watched but I've come across them in different recommendations in different places where I thought they would be really interesting and they sound really interesting. So they are movies that maybe you can try out. Okay, so let's just dive right into it. The first bit are the English movies. So first up is Eat, Pray, Love, and I know this is one of the more popular movies. It stars Julia Roberts, and I think it's a really feel-good coming-of-age film that takes you to different places. It goes from Italy to India to Bali in Indonesia, and it's a really, like, you feel nice at the end of the movie and you feel like you're going along with this lady's adventure. So it's about this lady from the US who has some trouble in her marriage, and basically she needs to like find herself. So she ends up going to Italy first, where she just kind of indulges herself, gets has like a good fun time, and then her bit about India is spiritual, and then Bali is about having fun and also like finding herself and finding her people. So I think it's a really fun watch, and it's like, if you've not watched it before, it's worth watching at least once. So definitely give it a try if you want. And it's also a book. It was originally a book, so in case you want to read that before watching the movie, you can do that too. The next movie is Into the Wild. Now I feel like this movie really has something in it. It kind of like makes you take a step back and think about your life, and it basically gives a really different perspective about life. And I think this is a great time to watch a movie like this, because you kind of have the time right now to take a step back and think about the things that are in your life. So it's about this guy who's in the US somewhere, where he comes from a very wealthy family and he's a really good athlete, and academically also he's really good in college, but then he decides to give away all the money that he had to charity and go on this crazy adventure, and he wants to go to the Alaska wilderness. And I think it's a great story. Again, this is inspired from a book and it's from a real life story. It's kind of based, and I think it's really worth giving at least one try. I actually started watching it because I'd heard about it so much. I started watching it on a plane and it did not click with me at all, and I was like, what is this artsy thing or whatever. I don't know why I thought that, because it's a little bit, the narrative is different and all of that, and I was like, I'm not in the mind space for this. But later when I revisited it, I actually really did enjoy it, and I felt like something changed inside me, at least for that moment. So that says that it was a good movie. Next up is actually a trilogy. So there are 3 movies, which is Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. And this is a movie about 2 people who meet in different places in these 3 different movies, and them just having a conversation. And that's why I think it's a super interesting watch, because for me, I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but I am really interested by people who have a different point of view in life, who see the world in a different light than most people do, and I find that super interesting. And I found that in these movies, where they are having these conversations which are so raw and so real and different. They're not looking at things that usually most people think is normal. They look at it in different perspectives, and that's what I really enjoy watching. So these are movies where in the first movie, the guy is American and the girl is French, and they meet in Vienna, and they spend the whole night together before they both have to leave separate ways. So that is Before Sunrise. And then in Before Sunset, they meet in Paris again after a few years. And then the last movie, Before Midnight, is in Greece. Next up is Lion, which stars Dev Patel, and it's a little bit more serious than the rest of the movies that I'm talking about. So it's about this kid who is from somewhere around Kolkata, and when he's really young, he gets lost and away from his family. So he tries to survive in Kolkata, and then eventually he gets adopted by this Australian couple. And then years later, when he's a grown-up man, he tries to find his hometown and his parents and his family basically, and the place that he comes from. So he goes on this adventure to find that. This one is also based on a book and somewhat from real life, so if you're looking to watch something a little bit more serious, then you should check this one out. So now we're moving on to the Hindi travel movies, and first up is ZNMD, which is Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. And I literally cannot make a travel movies video and not mention ZNMD because it's such a like dear film to, I feel like, our generation. Like everybody loves it, and it has like Ritik Roshan, Farhan Akhtar, Abhay Deol. Like what's not to watch in this movie? It's directed by Zoya Akhtar, so that's like the cherry on top. And it's just such a feel good fun movie with lots of good dancing, good looking people, amazing locations, and actually a really good story which is kind of engaging and has like lots of meaningful things here and there. You get to see all these amazing locations in Spain, and it's just so much fun to watch. Next up is Queen, starring Kangana Ranaut, and I've actually talked about it so much in my other videos, so I'm gonna kind of go over this now. I still feel it's a really nice movie. I did a Scenes I Love video on this if you want to check that out. It's about this girl who gets ditched by her fiance and kind of goes on her honeymoon alone and discovers herself. And I'm gonna move on from Queen. Next up is kind of like an old movie, but considering it has Priyanka Chopra and Ranbir Kapoor, it feels weird saying that, but it's Anjana Anjani, and I feel like it's been released a few years now. So it's about these two people who are sick of their lives, there's shit going on in their lives, so they want to just die, but they somehow don't end up after multiple attempts of suicide, they don't end up dying. So then they make a pact of basically doing everything that they ever wanted to do, and they go kind of like on this road trip doing all these crazy things, and they make a pact that at the end of the year, on New Year's, they are going to commit suicide. It's not like an amazing movie, but it's just something to pass the time, have a chill time, and it has like a good music album. So yeah. Next one is Karwa, and I also feel like I've talked about this too much, but I need to talk about it because it's so underrated. I really love Karwa, and it might just have to do with the fact that I love Dulquer Salman, but otherwise also it's a great movie, guys. It also stars Irfan Khan and Mithila Palkar, and it's about these three people who go on a road trip from Bangalore to Kochi with lots of incidents in the middle to actually get the dead bodies of their parents because they've gotten exchanged in the transport service. I really feel like the movie is nice because it has some really deep stuff, and it also has some really fun times, and in the middle there's also these amazing shots of Kerala because they're going on a road trip. So now here I'm gonna sneakily add in a Malayalam film which is Neelakasham Panchakudal Chuvana Bhumi, and I'm so proud of saying that without actually looking at my book. It's another Dulquer Salman film. So it's about this guy and his friend who go on a motorcycle ride across India, and on the way they come across some really interesting situations and really interesting people. It's a fun like motorcycle ride across India. The narrative of the movie is not very linear, so you kind of find out things of why certain things are happening or why he's on this road trip in the middle of the movie or at different points. So I don't really want to talk too much unless like I'll end up spoiling it for you, but I think it was a fun watch. Okay, so now moving on to movies that are Hindi Bollywood movies but are in different locations around the world. First up is Dil Chahta Hai. It's kind of like not a travel movie, but you get that epic Goa trip that everybody is inspired from is from Dil Chahta Hai, and then you get some stuff from Australia, and everybody really knows about Dil Chahta Hai, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I think it'd be fun to kind of go back to it at this point, and any old movie that is loved is fun to watch, to rewatch. Next one is Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, another one of those movies that's just, you know, it's a watch. I don't know, maybe they should make a name for such movies. Movies that are like highly unrealistic would probably not happen in real life. They are super lavish and like look expensive and are very exotic, but you still end up having a really good time because you know these are lives that you're never gonna actually live. So maybe these, you know, we should have a name for such movies. But Ye Jawani Hai Diwani is like a typical example of this. It's that movie where, you know, you remember the dialogues of. So let's talk about the next movie, which is Jab We Met. I recently watched it again and I had so much fun revisiting it because it has those typical Geet dialogues that everybody knows by now, and you see them traveling from Mumbai to button down their train and all those crazy things that happen, the songs in the middle. So lots of like different locations in and around India. Next up is Piku, also, which I'm not gonna talk too much about because I've talked about it in my other videos and most people know about it. So it stars Deepika Padukone and Irfan Khan and Amitabh Bachchan. I kind of feel like I should have said it the other way around. Amitabh Bachchan, Deepika Padukone and Irfan Khan. Next is Highway, which stars Alia Bhatt and Randeep Hooda, and it's a little bit different from the rest of the movies, actually very different from the rest of the movies, but it also has a little bit of traveling going on because this girl comes from a richer family and she gets kidnapped by Randeep Hooda's character, I don't remember his name now, and it's kind of, she's not sad about it, she's kind of okay with getting away from her family, and then it goes from there. This movie is definitely way more emotional than the rest of the movies on this list, so just keep that in mind. Next up is the controversial Tamasha. Not controversial because it was controversial, but controversial because it is not so liked by so many people. But I was convinced to give it a second try after I watched Rahul Desai, who's from Film Companion. Anupama Chopra, Rahul Desai, they do this thing called FC Retake. They're basically revisiting some of those movies and thinking of why they were actually better than they initially thought. And when I heard Rahul Desai's take on it, who by the way I feel is one of the most sensible people I've heard, I was convinced to kind of watch it again and see what he means by it. So maybe you can watch the video of Rahul Desai and Anupama Chopra on Film Companion before watching the movie, and maybe you would enjoy the movie more. Next up is another Imtiaz Ali film. I feel like he really loves to go to different places and shoot in different places. That's kind of like his passion. This one is Jab Harry Met Sejal. I don't think so it's a great movie again, but I feel like it has some good music, and if you're an SRK fan, you can definitely watch it. Anushka is great too. Anushka Sharma's character loses her wedding ring somewhere while she's on a Euro trip, and Shah Rukh Khan's character is this kind of like a tour guide, and then when both of them go around on all those places that she had visited earlier on the trip to find that wedding ring, and that's what like the story is about. The last movie on the Hindi list is Dil Dhadakne Do. I really do not need to talk about this movie because everybody knows about this movie. It stars Priyanka Chopra, Farhan Akhtar, Ranveer Singh, Anil Kapoor, Shefali, I don't remember his name, Rahul Bose, so many people, and basically if you just want to chill on a cruise for 2-3 hours, watch this movie. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to movies that I've not actually watched but I've found interesting through different places like Instagram and things like that. So these are recommendations. I've not watched these movies but they sound interesting, so I'm telling you guys about it. The first one is Amelie, but it's spelled like Emily or Emily or whatever, something like that. And it's based in Paris and different locations in Paris, and it's about this girl. I heard about it from Rahul Desai on Film Companion, and that's why it seemed interesting to me. You can definitely check it out if you find it interesting. Next one is Lost in Translation. Again, I don't remember too much about this movie, but it is based in Tokyo. The location is Tokyo and it has Scarlett Johansson, if I'm not wrong. Next one is The Motorcycle Diaries. I think this is about two friends who are on a motorcycle trip from somewhere in South America to somewhere in South America, and they kind of see poverty. I think this is about that. The next one is The Darjeeling Limited. It's about these three brothers who are on this train ride in India, and they are meeting for the first time after their parents had passed away. They've not talked since, and they are, I think, going to meet their mother somewhere, and it's about their story on this train ride in India. Next one is based in Italy and it's called Under the Tuscan Sky. It's about this lady who, I think something goes wrong in her life, and I think her friend recommends her to just take a tour of Italy and go around and explore places, and she does that, and then she falls in love with this one house and place, and I think she buys that, and then she has to deal with living there, and I think it's her story. Next one is The Bucket List. It's about, I think, this one car mechanic and one billionaire who end up in the same hospital, and they realize there are things that they really want to do. They basically leave the hospital to do these things against the advice of the doctor, and it's their story. It stars Morgan Freeman and another really famous person who I don't remember. Next up is not an English movie, it's a Hindi movie called Kareeb Kareeb Single, and it stars Irfan Khan and Parvati, who's the Malayalam superstar, and it's a story where they meet on a dating app, I think, and they're really different people with different personalities, but they go on this trip to Rishikesh and lots of different things happen. Next up is Jagga Jasoos, which didn't really do well and I haven't really watched it, but I know that it's also shot in really different locations and different places, and it's also crazy, so you can maybe check that out. And then the last one that I want to talk about is actually not a movie. I cheated a little bit here, but it's much more than a movie because it's 10 different videos on YouTube by these travel vloggers called the Budgeteers, and I actually came across them a year ago and I binged watched their India series. I absolutely loved their India series. Not so much their other series, but I loved the India series. I loved watching India through their eyes. I kind of felt like these are travel vlogs that I would really be interested in watching. These are the kinds that I would really be interested in watching. I know there are all these amazing videos which people make through drones and different cinematic shots, which basically looks like a tourism ad, but these are vlogs that actually make you feel a lot of emotions, you know, kind of them sharing their experiences. And I remember when I watched it, I was so invested in it, and I felt like taking that trip that they did. I felt like going to Rajasthan, to going to Rishikesh, to going to all these amazing places and chilling and having an amazing time. They mainly went around North India, if I'm not mistaken. But I thought it was a great series, so if you're looking to watch something like that on YouTube, you should definitely check them out. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. My throat is completely dry and I think it's gonna rain outside, and so many things have gone wrong in this video. The lights have changed and everything has changed. But I hope you still enjoyed watching this video. I hope you got some recommendations from this. Maybe 1 or 2 movies that you can maybe try. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I shall see you next time. Bye!